The gospel reading today is Luke 12:32 through 40. Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give alms. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Be dressed for action and have your lamps lit. Be like those who are waiting for their master to return from the wedding banquet, so that they may open the door for him as soon as he comes and knocks. Blessed are those slaves whom the master finds alert when he comes. Truly I tell you, he will fasten his belt and have them sit down to eat, and he will come and serve them. If he comes during the middle of the night or near dawn and finds them so, blessed are those slaves. But know this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour.
The Holy Gospel of the Lord.
So for our sermon today, we have the members of the youth group, a few of them, coming up and sharing a little snippet from their life that reflects this passage. We spent a little bit of time going over these things together, and I am so thoroughly impressed by the vulnerability that they all are expressing in these little stories. So if you guys want to come up. Carla also.
And please be seated.
Oh, yeah, totally. Sit down, sit down.
There are many ways in which God can guide us to success and push you to be great. Throughout high school, the thought of college was never the greatest and quite a stressful reality to put in perspective. This past year has made me realize that everything I do in school and how I treat it depends ultimately on my future. As a junior, my recent year in high school, I was obligated to take the SAT, a performance task test that determines what colleges are the right fit for you. As soon as it was time to sign up for the test, my parents and I were on it. Before this, I had never seen the SAT nor was ready whatsoever. But I knew I had to take it in order to succeed in my education. As soon as I got the score back, I had realized my preparation for college was not nearly where I wanted it to be. This was the first step in using the faith of God. This motivated me to take the SAT class in order to get better score and succeed in my education. The faith of God pushed me to do better. The next 2 times I had taken the SAT, I had studied harder and done better. The faith that God provided me gave me the power to increase my SAT score and overall succeed in my education. As this guided me to success, I hope every one of you can find faith in God and believe you are capable of anything as well. Rely on your faith and trust God no matter what the circumstances, even if they're minor setbacks. As long as you keep trying, work harder, and believe in God, you can all accomplish anything.
I moved to San Diego with my family when I was 2 years old. I don't remember much when I was younger, but I do recall how hard it was growing up in 2 different cultures because it was like I didn't fit in either one. On one hand, there was an American culture that everyone at school grew with, making it difficult for me because I didn't connect with their lifestyles. And on the other hand, there was the Mexican culture that I shared at home with my family, which made it hard for them because they didn't share the same experiences that I did at school. Because of these differences, I felt really misunderstood throughout my childhood because no one related to what I was going through. And on top of that, I was an only child, so I didn't have anyone to share my experiences with. Going to church was my safe haven as a young kid because mostly everyone that went there shared the same religion that my family followed. As a result, it was easier to connect with the kids my age since they too had difficulty combining 2 different cultures and we were able to relate to each other. Their view of God was similar to me because of our shared common experiences. It was a beautiful thing. However, once I started middle school, everything changed for me. I changed churches, resulting in me not being able to hang out with my friends, and I basically had to start over. It was already difficult for me to fit in at school because of my 2 different cultures, so I wanted to do anything possible to belong. I was more interested in being popular, following the crowd, and being liked. In order to fit in, I gave up many things, one of them being my faith in God. Although I continued going to church, I felt completely disconnected and started to distance myself from God. I became friends with those who made poor decisions, and I let them influence me in order to be accepted. I started acting out in school and went from a straight A student to a student that didn't care about grades. Things got a lot worse entering high school. There was a lot of negative energy surrounding my family, and at the same time, I had to switch schools twice, spending at least a month at both schools. My family was being affected by the negative energy, and we made a unanimous decision to take a break from church for a while and to focus on our health as a family. Transferring to my third and final school, everything started to get better. For starters, I was blessed with teachers that truly cared about their students, and I was able to discuss my feelings without being embarrassed, and they made me feel understood. I surrounded myself with better friends, and my grades started to improve. This was also the time my family started attending Claremont Lutheran Church, a church that welcomed us with open arms and made us feel at home. I became more involved at church, and my faith in God became stronger. Maybe I didn't realize it at first, but I can look back at this difficult time in my life and see that God was looking out for me all along. Even in times when my faith in Him was weak, He continued to love me and showed me that things do get better. To my hyphenated American bilingual brothers and sisters, there is a purpose for why we've been given this identity. Maybe we use it well so that others might know, whether bicultural, tricultural, or monocultural, that we have more foundational identity in Christ. Being bicultural means that two different cultural worlds have left their beautiful and painful mark. That's what makes me who I am and how I understand God to be who He is in my life. For people born in a minority culture, becoming or being bicultural is certainly a possibility that promises many positive benefits. The younger me saw being bicultural as a weakness, but today I take it as my strength, and now I know that whatever I go through, God will always support me and be by my side, and I no longer have to question my faith in Him ever again.
I play basketball. Unsurprising, I know. I played basketball for a long time, ever since I was in second grade or so. I like to think that I'm pretty good at it. You know, I would hope so for playing for so long. But throughout my career, I've always noticed that I've never really got the ball that often. While my teammates would average about 10 points a game, I noticed that I would average about 2 to 4 points a game. And as I got into high school, I started noticing it more and more. As the points of the game got higher, my average seemed to stay the same. I started paying more attention as the games played out and realized that it wasn't necessarily my skill that was lacking, but it was that my own teammates would not pass me the ball as often as the other kids. Now I realized that it could be my position, that my points are faltering, but this is a case where I noticed that even when I had the open opportunity, they would still not pass me the ball. That's when I realized that my teammates didn't have faith in me. Now for a while, I also lost faith in myself. I started to think that maybe I wasn't good enough, maybe that I wasn't that skilled that I thought. When I lost faith in myself, I felt pretty depressed. But yet, I felt like it was a familiar thought. And then I realized that this is what it feels like to lose faith in God. When people lose their faith in God, they start to find that everything they do has no purpose, the same way that I felt when I would go to practice and feel like nothing was happening, nothing was helping. But the thing is that you must keep your faith, because even when you do lose your faith in yourself or in God, God still has faith in you. He is that teammate that will always pass you the ball. God is the one who, no matter what you do, He has so much faith in you that it doesn't matter to Him if you don't have faith in Him. God is the one who will always love you, unconditionally.
There was a class on how to post on social media, what you should, shouldn't do, and overall common sense. My parents would make sure I'd be the first enrolled. From my past experiences and mistakes, social media, specifically Instagram, has wreaked the most havoc in my life. It caused me to get in lots of trouble and made me realize the impact of one joke or a few comments could make, and how suddenly your life can crumble if you don't know what you're doing, and how God helped me get through it. So the first mistake I made on social media was in 5th grade. Yes, I had social media in 5th grade. And it was, as you guessed, pretty stupid. I sent a bunch of mean comments to one of my friends because me and some of my other friends thought he bought followers. I mean, did I say I was in 5th grade? And of course, I thought I was going to be fine and I wasn't going to get in trouble. But I was super wrong, of course. I had to go to the principal's office after school to discuss what had happened with everyone involved, and then we had to get our parents to come in to discuss what happened to them. Me being a very honest person at the time, I left to find my mom. I told her what happened, what was going on, and went to the office with her. That's what I would say if I was actually honest then. I actually just went home. Needless to say, I got in a lot of trouble, the most I'd been in at the time, more than it had to be because I lied. The most recent mistake I made about a year and a half ago was me making a bad joke at a horrible time. It was the most trouble I had been in, and I definitely didn't expect it to be as bad as I was. I mean, I knew I was going to get in trouble, but I thought it was going to be something like an in-school suspension, which was a slap on the wrist compared to what actually happened. When my mom eventually got the call from the vice principal at my school, I only knew in that moment that this wasn't just going to be a little mistake. I ended up not going back to that school, instead having to go to an alternative school with other kids who had been kicked out of their schools. I had to deal with the law. My school was shaken up from this ordeal, and some parents even transferred their kids out of that school just because of my little joke. How did God help me through these times of trouble, and how does it relate to preparing for the unexpected? God made sure that I learned my lesson for the second example, and that my parents learned about the dangers of social media. For the first example, God made sure I didn't get arrested that day. God made sure that other people were there to help us out and show us love in a time of hardship and be there for my family when it felt like everyone was against us. I'm also blessed to have family and friends that supported, helped, and loved our family at a time where they could have turned away because of my dumb, insensitive joke. God also made sure that this mistake was a blessing in disguise because that mistake brought our family more together than we ever been before. I learned a lot more about myself and the world around me, and I've become more aware of the potential I have and what person I want to become. All right, so I want to close this off with a prayer. Dear God, thank you for always being there with us. From our proud moments to our life-altering mistakes, we always know you're with us. We thank you for your mercy and forgiveness. We thank you for making sure that even when life gets hard for us, whether it's filled with sadness, it's unfair, filled with fear, or it's changing, you are good, and you make sure to guide us to the light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how dark it may seem in our current place. And even when we are in the light, when life is good, you are good, and you will forever be good. Amen.